Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I hope you enjoyed my last video and I'm ready to dive into the third video of my 5-part series. Today I will be talking about all the German admin stuff that you need to know about before you move to Berlin. Now, as I discussed in the last video, admin stuff in Germany can be quite of a pain. However, I'm here to help facilitate the process and make it as smooth as possible. So yeah, let's get right into it. I will be talking about these categories that you can see blended in on your screen right now, and I'll be ranking them from most painful to least painful. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Starting off with Enrollment and the Prüfungsamt, or Examination Office, as it is called in English. I will quickly go over the general process of how to actually get admitted into a German university and how to actually become a registered student. Now, one thing to note, which is very important actually, is that admission does not automatically equal enrollment, as enrollment is the second step that you will be required to complete after getting your initial admission. Now, the general process goes as follows. Assuming you've already been admitted, the first step would be to accept the admission offer. Then you will be expected to pay the semester fee, or, depending on your payment plan, to at least just pay the first installment, as well as the admission fee. You will then be required to submit all other documents that they need to officially enroll you, after which you will receive your Immatrikulationsbescheinigung, or enrollment certificate in English. One thing worth pointing out is that the enrollment windows are actually rather short, typically ranging from 2 to 4 weeks. And this is a crucial, very, very crucial deadline that you should not miss, as missing this deadline might mean missing out on your place in the university. So how would I rank Enrollment and the Prüfungsamt and dealing with these institutions on the pain meter scale? Honestly, this process is more so annoying than scary, so I would rank it a 2 out of 5 in the pain meter scale. Now, moving away a bit from the actual university side of things, I will be talking about opening a bank account in Germany. Guys, it is absolutely crucial that you have ideally a German bank account, but if you don't have a German bank account, to at least have some sort of other EU or SEPA mandate bank account, as it will facilitate bank transfers, and Germany runs quite heavily on bank transfers, so it is very, very important. Usually your rent, health insurance, as well as a semester fee will require a German bank account, as these amounts are usually directly debited from your account without you having to send it manually. Now, there are two main types of banks in Germany where you might want to open an account. The first of those being the traditional banks as we know them, which in Germany are Sparkasse, Commerzbank, Postbank, etc., which are, I'd like to say, the ideal type of bank account, as it is just easier to, first of all, reach people in case you have any sort of issue. And they usually have offices as well as dedicated ATMs where you can easily withdraw money, and also where you can usually deposit money as well, sometimes with a fee, but oftentimes in these banks, it is actually without a fee. Now, these types of banks usually require a couple more documents than online banks, which I'll be talking about in a second. Little spoiler. The main documents required, I will blend in on the screen here as well. Feel free to pause the video. Now, the next type of banks that I sadly just spoiled for you, apologies, would be online banks. The most popular online banks in Germany are probably Revolut and N26. I personally have a DKB account, which is also an online bank mainly. However, N26 and Revolut seem to be most people's go-to options. These banks can typically be opened without an Anmeldung, and as I said before, they don't need quite as much documentation as the traditional banks. However, they usually don't have dedicated ATMs, and a lot of these banks have withdrawal limits. By withdrawal limits, I mean amount of times you can withdraw without paying a fee. And they also don't have any offices, so it's hard to reach people in case there's an issue. Now, opening an online bank account is most definitely going to be the easiest option in most cases, as it only really becomes kind of an issue, which honestly is not a main issue, as there's still ways to reach these banks and figure out your problems. However, it's just a bit more difficult. But yeah, in terms of this, most guides are actually outdated, as from what I've seen in research that I've done prior to this video, most guys or most people recommend getting an actual bank account, which for simplicity's sakes, I would honestly just suggest that you start off with one of the online banks that I mentioned, especially if you don't have the documents that I listed in the last video yet, as I discussed in my first video, the Anmeldung, etc. can take quite a while, so you might not have the necessary documents to open a traditional bank. So that's why I just suggest starting off with an online bank. And if you find the need to switch over to a traditional bank, then you can always do that while you're here. Now, on my pain meter scale, opening a bank account is only going to be a 1 out of 10, as it is quite a seamless process and doesn't cause many headaches. Now we get to one of my absolute favorite parts, which would be the Anmeldung process or registration. Now, I kind of touched on this in my first video actually, but basically the Anmeldung is the mandatory registration of your residential address, which you register with the local authority, which is usually a Bürgeramt in your area. And the Anmeldung is kind of your A and O, and this is one of the very, very first things that you want to get sorted as quickly as possible once you actually land here, or once you arrive in the city and get your residence on lock. Now, there is a deadline of 14 days or 2 weeks to complete your registration once you have actually found a place of residence. And anytime you move, you will be required to also change your Anmeldung to your new place of residence. In this 14-day window, weekends and holidays do count, so be aware of that fact. Now, upon completion of your Anmeldung, you will receive what is known as your Meldebescheinigung or registration certificate, which is kind of the gateway document that you will require to do most other things. Like, for example, opening one of the traditional bank accounts that I mentioned earlier, getting your tax ID number, phone contracts, as well as a critical factor for non-EU citizens, which would be your residence permit. Now, a quick note, your first registration as a non-EU citizen has to be done in person, and the online function will sadly not be available to you. However, any registration that you have to do after your initial first one will be available online, just to ease the process. Yeah, just to make the process a bit easier on you and reduce the stress and headaches that come with, having to do all this in person and travel there and da. Guys, this is where we start getting into the pain of finding an appointment in Berlin. This is because there is quite a few number of appointments only available each day, and there is quite a high demand for these appointments, meaning that you should try to look as early as possible for one of these appointments. And on my pain meter scale, this right here is going to be a 4 out of 5. So enjoy, guys. Enjoy. Have fun. I'm sure you will. Guys, I do have some tips and tricks to share with you on how to get your appointment as soon as possible. First of all, the place to find your appointments is service.berlin.de, the URL to which you will be able to find in the description. And slots are most of the time going to be booked out for at least a 2 to 6 week period. And actually, the best way I found to get these appointments is to log on to this platform very early in the morning, as they're refreshed in batches, and just keep refreshing and pray that you find an appointment as soon as possible that is in a reasonable time frame for you. But at the end of the day, if you don't find an appointment in time, then there's nothing you can do. So don't stress; it will be okay. And the people are also aware. The people in the office itself are also aware of the fact that it is very difficult to find appointments. So don't stress. Now, guys, that's going to be it for me for part 1 of this video. I really do hope you enjoyed the video and that you got some good information out of it. And I hope to see you back again here on my channel for part 2, which will be dropping later today. So leave a thumbs up and leave any suggestions or video ideas you have for me in the comment section as usual. And once again, thank you very much for listening, and see you back here later today. Bye.